use this fine charcoal to do a drawing of a Y bar. So we're first draw lightly where the object's going to be, and catch the shadow would be over here, a little bit lower. Some questions you want to ask yourself: how big the ball you want it to be, and how big the area would be, and should it be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I would like to lower it a little bit on the page. Okay, I think a lower over here will look a little bit better on the page. Okay, as I lower the one part, everything else associated with that would also move a little bit lower. Ask yourself, this is really what I want? Am I sure? And if your answer is sure, and then you can move on to the next step. Okay, I'm going to keep the mark over here. I'm not going to erase that yet. I'm going to start dividing the object into two big areas. One is the light side, one is the shadow side. So obviously the light coming from the right side of the objects, and this side is the light side, this side is the shadow side. Now you introduce a new line into the whole object. You need to double check it's about how wide that area compared to the whole, the entire areas from left to the right. Or you can do it with the left side and the right side with the light side, this area, to see what's the relationship. By looking at it, it's almost like a 1/3, but it's just 1/3 and less than 1/3. So you can do that, divide this into 3 areas, and this is about a little bit less than 1/3. It will be probably somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. So double check again, squint your eyes. After checking, I think that this is correct, at least from what I observe at this point. Okay, this is good. So the next step is we're going to block into those 4 areas. 1, 2, 3, 4. The light areas, we're going to do that next step. So first I'm going to block it into the shadow side. Okay. Now you see the ball is getting lighter because compared to the shadow side value. And then you are going to block it into the catch the shadow. And as you see, the catch the shadow is actually even darker than the shadow side of the ball. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these areas even a little bit darker. Okay. And on this way, block into the areas. A little bit darker than the shadow side. Okay. And then it will be the rest of the background. The rest of the background is a little bit lighter than the shadow side of the objects. So I'm going to just cover with some middle tone value, moving into the area. And am I going to start blending a little bit in the backgrounds, because I'm not quite sure I would want that much texture outside the main objects. So I'm going to just use my hand and just lightly wipe on the paper in the areas of the background. Lightly blend into this area and catch the shadow. 4 areas, colors: white, a little darker, and even darker, and compared to the rest, it is the middle tone. But when you're looking at this, you almost like see the ball as in a 3D look. Okay, now the next step we're going to do, we're going to apply a little more details inside each of those areas. Like let's take a look at the light side. The light side over here, we can apply a little darker value. Over here, we can apply a little bit. I'm going to make that a small piece of the charcoal. And then moving on here, should be a little darker along the areas next to the shadow side. So apply to that. And down here a little darker too. So you can control how much weight you're going to press onto the charcoal, so that control how dark you want the area supposed to be. So we see this area is a little bit darker, gradually turn into a little lighter. And because the wine charcoal is so easy to erase, you very much can use your hand as the eraser. And on here, I'm going to define a little edge. Outside here, just shade a little value. So it creates the difference, the value contrast to create a shape of that, of the objects. Okay, now we have the variations inside the light side. We're going to do something inside the shadow side. So we're going to start from the top over here. This is supposed to be a little bit darker than the rest of the shadow side. And then come down here between the light side and the shadow side area. It's a little bit darker than everywhere else. And all the way come down here. Darker over here. And this side is still a little bit kind of darker over there. And down here has some reflected lights. So we're going to just use a finger, especially a clean finger, just to remove some of the darker value. So create a little lighter effect. And this light coming from, because the reflected light coming from the main light source and hit the table and bounce back to the shadow side in this area. Okay. We are going to start looking into the catch the shadow. Let me see. There's an area over here, darker than everywhere else, and almost the darkest point in the entire drawing. So we're going to make that really dark. It's really dark. Okay, now look back to the rest of the bar. Look at the shape, not quite right. And actually it should come in a little more. I'm going to use this big piece charcoal and oop. You cannot press it too hard. It was just going to break. Okay, better. And I'm also, this shape, it come in a little. Okay, on the top over here, we need to define a little bit better about the edge. Okay, but I don't want to make a really dark line over here, but I just define it where the shape started. That's the outside. Okay, here. And then this side of the catch the shadow is actually a little bit darker than the rest. Okay. And if you want to add a little detail into here, I can see this is actually have a little lighter line in this area, because of the folding of the paper, and add a little darker area here. And here you go. create the illusions of that its areas have a little folding, and they're actually here a little darker. And I can see there is a folding on this area too. And look at the angle of the line. Over here, add a little detail on the table. And actually over here, I have the little folding over here too, have a little darker area. And that's nice. And that's the continue of on this side. A little bit lighter on here, a little bit darker next to it. And a little bit here. But we don't want that much very contrast in the back because it's kind of the space is more far away from us. And this side could be a little lighter than what it is. It's just going to smooth the areas a little bit. Okay. I think we're almost there. We're already done turning the two-dimensional surface look like a three-dimensional objects on the paper.